8 co-writing tips. I want to start this session by sharing a story about a man named Pat Pattison, who is a songwriting professor at Berklee School of Music. And Pat shares a story of how he went to Nashville to songwrite, to co-write with a guy who had had hits. And Pat, this is one of his first times co-writing, and he shows up at the studio there, and he walks into the room, and the guy wasn't there yet. So Pat sits down, and he's waiting for this guy to come in. And again, this guy's a legendary writer. He's had so many hits, and this is Pat's first time writing with him. So Pat's sitting there, and then the door opens, and in walks this guy. He had boots on, like a flannel shirt or whatever. And the guy kind of walks in, and he's looking at Pat, and he shuts the door. Then he opens the door. And then he shuts the door, and he opens the door, and he shuts the door. And Pat's like, what is going on? Is this some kind of like a Nashville songwriting ritual? Like, what is this guy going to do to me? And he finally shuts the door, and he looks over at Pat, and he says, is that door closed? And Pat's like, yeah. He's like, good. Because you and I are about to say some of the dumbest things we've ever said in our lives. And I won't tell if you don't tell. I love that story. The raw honesty of even these, legendary songwriters, these legendary teachers, that they're just real men. And you and I are in the same boat. And one of the main co-writing tips I could ever give someone is to say everything that comes into your head in a co-writing session. I've been in so many co-writing sessions where we have that free flow. And guys, there's some really, really stupid, horrible things that are said by me, by other people. It's like, wow. But here's the thing. If you don't ever say the bad idea, it's like if it was like a pipe, right? A friend of mine says it this way. If it was like a pipe, and if you don't ever say the horrible idea, and then we'll never get to the less horrible idea, the less horrible idea, and the golden idea is 6 or 7 bad ideas away. But if you never had the guts to say everything that comes into your brain, we never would have gotten to the golden idea. The biggest thing. Now, again, there's insecurity, there's shame, there's fear that's going to come against you, but say everything that comes into your head in a songwriting session. Point number 2 of these co-writing tips: don't be silent. I've been in so many sessions where one person is just super introspective and just thinking. Your non-involvement or lack of speaking in a co-write is actually screaming to your co-writers as they're trying to vocalize things in an orderly manner. Again, even saying the stupidest thing that comes to your brain. And maybe in your personality to be more introverted and I'm just kind of thinking with my journal. If that's you, that's okay. But have the communication to say, hey, I'm working on something. I'm going to detach for a second, because there's a camaraderie that when that camaraderie comes, when I have full trust and belief that everyone in the room is on the same page, that's when incredible things happen. And again, it's not like a hard and fast rule. Sometimes I go, more introspective in my journal or whatever. I'm writing something, on a Google Doc form, for example, and I'm way down below the Google Doc working on a completely separate idea. But I try and communicate that whenever possible. And again, everyone has their different flow. I've written with some amazing people that they're journal people. They don't like writing on Google Docs, and they write some incredible things. And it might be 5, 7, 10 minutes later when they finally bring out something incredible. It's wow, thank you so much for going into your shell. But having communication of that happening, or as you co-write with someone on the regular, I begin to understand now certain people that I co-write with, okay, this is where you get your gold. So I'm not going to try and hey, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? But I might, encouragingly prod them and say, hey, what are you thinking about over there? And they can just say, I'm working on something. Great. I'm going to wait until you're done and see what you come up with. But as much as possible, don't be silent in the co-write. Have everyone feel like they're a part of the team and they're all in the same race doing this to write this song. Don't give place for the enemy to creep in and speak. The third co-writing tip. Again, it's so easy for insecurity, for fear to come in a co-writing session where you begin to make conjecture and you begin to make assumptions of well, that's why this person's being quiet because they hate my idea, or this person's doing this because they hate me, or whatever it is. Don't give the enemy a place to creep in and speak in your co-writing sessions. But guys, that happens all the time. I've coached hundreds of worship leaders in songwriting. It happens all the time. The fourth tip, have patience. Okay, if you're signing up to co-write, you have to know that you're in it for the long haul. Hopefully you're not just writing one time with these people, but even if it's a 2, 4, 6, or 8 hour session, there's going to be lull. There's going to be moments of quiet in a co-writing session. Sometimes there's going to be moments of, shouting and everyone getting really excited, but you have to have patience to ebb and flow in the write. The fifth tip, follow the life of a co-write. We have to have unity. So if there's 4 people in a write or 3 people in a write, the majority rules. rules. So if 3 people are vibing on one idea and you're just like, no, I really don't like that idea, I don't, you have to follow the life. If 3 people are vibing in one direction, then you have to go that direction. Don't be the holdout. I could tell you some horror stories of some co-writing sessions I've been in where it's like 3 people were like clearly feeling this is a great idea, we're going to go this direction, and the one person is just a holdout. It's like, no, I really don't think it's a good idea. It's, it's like, what are you doing? Follow the life of a co-write. Co-write with a bunch of different people. Don't just get locked in to say, I have to write with these 3 people. Maybe write with them for 6 months or a year and see how that goes, and write with as many different people as possible. When I began co-writing a lot about 14, 15 years ago, I was a part of 5 different co-writing groups a week. There was some crossover of some writers, but mostly it was completely new people. Co-write with a lot of different people. You're going to learn so much about yourself, what you like, what you don't like in co-writers, et cetera, et cetera. Get away if you can. Another tip, really, really simple, but get away. It doesn't have to be like 5 hours away, but can you guys go even to a house in your city where you're all together? Can you go to one of your campuses or a church or something like that? Getting out of the norm of, your house, whatever, where there's possible family distractions or kids, whatever. Get away if you can. And the last point I'll just say is you have to enjoy the journey. You have to have fun. You have to be engaged with these people. It's really, really helpful if you're friends with your co-writers, if it's not just like this transactional, relationship of we're going to write songs together, hang out together, grab drinks together, and have fun in the process of co-writing. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into my studio. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope it was encouraging to you. If you are a songwriter, or you want to begin to develop as a songwriter, or you want to begin to get into co-writing, I want to take a quick second and tell you about an online community that I run called Journey. Journey is made up of worship leaders from around the world, and they've all committed to meet together once a month for 3 hours of co-writing. So you join Journey, and I place you into a virtual co-writing group. You also get a co-writing training, so you're going to be equipped to step into these sessions and actually bring something to the table. So there's no worries. If you've never co-written before, we got you covered. Another thing you're going to get as a part of Journey is to be able to send me 3 to 4 songs a year that I'll personally assess and critique and offer feedback of how to make the song better. And then we've also added in a leadership development track. So not only are you going to grow as a songwriter and a co-writer, we're also committed as a group to meet together twice a month, all of us together on Zoom, where we're going to talk about different leadership principles of how to grow both on stage, off stage, as songwriters, how to overcome insecurity, how to become a better pastor to our worship teams, and all sorts of other topics that we cover. So if this is of interest to you, I encourage you to click the link below. Would love to have a conversation with you to see if Journey is a good fit for you.